Welcome to In This Season podcast, where we unpack the most empowering conversations, have exclusive and inspirational interviews, and host special events. Join Tammy, some call her Butterfly, and explore life's purpose by learning how to embrace each season of your life with confidence, strength, and purpose. Whether you're blooming in the spring, or shining in the summer, or embracing change in the fall, or gracefully hibernating in the winter, get ready to be inspired. Join us right here on this season of In This Season podcast with your host, The Butterfly. It's time, no matter what season it is.
Good morning, B. How is it going?
Good morning, Mom. I'm doing good. How are you this fine Sunday morning? Doing all right?
I am good. I can't call it, might spell it.
Good.
One of them kind of days.
One of them kind of days, huh?
Yes.
Got a couple clouds out. Welcome to the sun's out all the way. Daylight savings last night. Everybody catch it. I hope, it looks like you made it out all right.
Man, got a story for y'all this morning before we feed them ducks. Looked at my phone because I was kind of in and out, and I saw it was 5:44, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to get on up. And I laid there for a minute, but I guess I fell back to sleep for maybe a few minutes or so, because when I woke up, when I looked at the clock on the dresser instead of my phone, it said 6:49, right? And I'm like, oh, I've overslept. I run, get dressed, come in here, sit down and try to go live, and it wouldn't let me. And I was like, oh no, of all times, something's happening. Well, it was trying to tell me that you don't go live until 7. There was soon I saw the message at the bottom. So I've had a whole hour, which is good. So I had some time where I would have been rushing. I had some time to go read, sit in my war room, have my coffee. Now I got my water. So I caught myself getting up to have more time, but thought I was late. So got in the rush. Then realized I wasn't late. I was more than on time. So yeah.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Got an extra hour out of it. I feel like I slept an extra hour. I woke up and, usually we get up before sunrise, and I noticed something was different. Like the sun was higher today at the time. I looked at my phone, it just seemed weird. I talked to my wife and she said, oh, it's daylight savings time, so it's good though. I'm glad we got an extra hour, and because it was getting a little weird to wake up and it'd be 7 o'clock and it's no sunrise. I think the sun rose at 7:12, 7:13 yesterday, and today it rose at 6:23. So welcome to the daylight savings, guys, and I hope we got all our folks here. Who we got in the chat?
So we got Miss Brenda. Well, let me go back because I think I'm missing someone. Let me make sure. All the way to the top. Miss Brenda Davis says, great everything and great Sunday, everyone. Auntie Richetta from the ATL says, good morning, Butterfly and nephew and everyone. And she says nephews, including Big Mike. Big Mike says, good morning, everyone. Did you guys miss me yesterday? And I did. I shot you a text just to make sure you were all right. We did miss you. And Miss Brenda Davis says, enjoyed that extra hour of sleep. Mike says, I overslept yesterday, so I wasn't able to join the podcast. Good morning, Mike. Miss Brenda Davis says, you were missed yesterday. And that's all right. I'm sure you needed to catch up on a bit of rest yourself. So that's all right, y'all. That's all right. Before we get going, you guys, and I hope she's listening. So I was out yesterday back at this place where I met Miss Deja, and I'm walking by. So where this place, the bathroom is kind of in this little walkway and then down a hallway. I'm walking by the door of the first entrance that you go into to go to the restrooms, and guess who's walking out? Miss Deja. And so she was like, Miss Tammy, I thought I'd never see you again. She said, I wanted to talk to you. And I told her, I said, girl, we've been talking about you. Your ears should have been burning. Um, and she said, it's just been hard. So I really appreciate what you did. And hopefully she's listening this morning. She said, it's just been hard, and I just appreciate what you did. But she shared a story with me of why she kind of got in her feelings. And I'm going to share it because this is Daily Motivations for African American Success, right? And so she said it was her first day. And for whatever reason, she said a lady, and she said a white lady, just lied on me. She said I did none of the things that she said I did. And she said, I just don't know why she would just literally lie like that on me. And she said it made me mad. And I reacted basically. So, but thank God she had a manager who said, don't worry about it. You're not in trouble. We know you didn't do that. Let's move forward, basically. So, it was just, I'm thankful. I'm thankful. I'm thankful. I'm thankful. God's speed, God's timing with me walking. And that was the second time I had gone in the store that day. And so I took her over to say hello to, because we're set up in this particular store as a new retail, and they had already met. They was like, yeah, I met her. I served her some food. So they had already met. So and they're young women. They're two young women, so who are getting to connect, right? So, y'all, just that wasn't Tammy. That wasn't Tammy. God led me back and to think about this big old store. And as I'm walking past the entrance to go in the bathroom, I'm just doing my shopping, right? Here she comes out. Me and her collide. So, y'all, God is good. That's all I can tell you. And everything in life is happening for you, for us, for someone else, for the betterment of this world. So see with your spiritual eyes. See with your spiritual eyes. So let's
Even
take
even when the Karen's coming for you, man, God's still there.
right. And I gave some thought to that. Interesting. And I got deep with this one actually this morning while I was sitting in the war room. How, some people are so angry, and I'm not saying this is the case, but it is the case in some instances. So, regardless of if you like our presidential candidate, Kamala Harris, some people just don't like her for the color of her skin. They just don't want her there just for the color of her skin, just without knowing anything about her. Because truth be told, none of us truly really know anything about this woman, right? Anything. And sometimes what you think you know is distorted, right? In some way, shape, form, or fashion. So, I thought about what she said, because I've had that same instances. I've had some women of different color play on me, but I've also had some women of different color love on me. And those are the ones I will focus on. Love on me just like I was their sister from the same mother and father, right? So, but we do have to call out when it needs to be called out, right? So,
Yeah.
over to you, Brandon. Let's take just a few minutes, y'all. Just a few minutes. Come on, Brandon. You gonna do it with me this morning?
Let's see if
Just
I can
do
get
it.
you. If I can get you. Go. There you go. There you go. Come on. There you go. See the beat. I think the beat's different slightly from your side to my
Oh,
side.
okay.
Yeah. So I always have to go off beat in order to catch it.
That's all right. Just move with it. Come on. There you go.
But you
All
got
right,
me thinking
y'all.
about all the stuff Miss Deja been going through, and I'm already thinking 10 million different things. But that ain't the show today. But we gonna get it today.
Yeah, yeah. She's all right though. The beauty in that is, let me get this up. The beauty in that is she had a village around her. So I won't even focus on, because what I told her, I said, Deja, had had that not happened, I would not have heard you say what you said. We would have not connected, and we wouldn't be standing here talking about the goodness of it all. You see what I'm saying? So had the lady, regardless of color, right now, had not tried to sneak her and lie on her, and here this young girl's first day is, and she's trying to get it, and somebody is saying she did something, and you could tell that she was really like, why would somebody just lie like that?
Yeah.
So, but we know it happens.
Yeah.
We know it happens.
Yeah,
We
I'm
know.
sure Emmett Till said the
And
same
I was
thing.
just gonna say that, Brandon. Yes, we know it happens for sure. So that's why I said, regardless, a moment, a beautiful moment, and hopefully a beautiful connection will come out of that. Because I could feel Deja's words. This team has just been hard. And so she said, when you did that, she said, you just don't get people to do things like that. She said all those. So Deja, if you're listening, I sent her the podcast. If you're listening, shoot us a note on YouTube there, or text me or something. So yeah, so y'all, and again, I give glory to God. It's not about me or what. I did that through God, because of God and who He is in my life. Who I want Him to continue. I know He will. I want Him to continue to be in my life. So I'm going to continue to seek Him. I sat so quietly this morning and just thanked God for so many things, even things that I don't understand, that I'm going through, that people are going through. How can I judge the situation after a beautiful situation coming through, or a relationship that came through? If it was just for a season with Miss Deja, she will remember that. She will remember that moment, that day, down to me telling her yesterday, had it not been for her words, we would not be here. Miss Deja and Miss Tammy would not be connecting. So let's focus on that. So over to you, Brandon.
Sounds good, y'all. Let's connect on that and connect on this book, Daily Motivations for African American Success. Part of the reason for us coming together every single day for 270, 80 something days,
77.
77 days, y'all. Welcome. That's a huge accomplishment for a podcast that doesn't get any funding from anywhere else, that haven't made a dollar from this. Thank y'all for being here, and thank you, Mom, for always showing up. So I really appreciate it. But why are we here? Why are we reading through this book? Let me tell you a little bit more about this book. First, please get the book. It's a high value, low cost book. There's so much inside of this book, so much to gain, so much to learn, and so much to share and contemplate for another day. Get the book. It's written by Dennis Kimbro. That's that gentleman right there, published in 1992. Please make sure you go support this Black author who has given us so much. But a little bit more about this book. Daily Motivations for African American Success will help you focus on the thoughts, attitudes, and deeds that will lead to the achievement of your true goals. In 365 short, powerful motivations, one for each day of the year, Dennis Kimbro, author of the popular Think and Grow Rich, which is an interesting title because I think it's the title of our passage today, leads us to discover how to use the present moment and our own gifts to transcend labels, cultivate a positive attitude, become wise enough to know when to say yes and when to say no, and how to look inward for answers to life's challenges. So each motivation begins with words of wisdom or a quote from such distinguished and celebrated African Americans as Malcolm X, Marion Wright Elderman, Whoopi Goldberg, Charlene Hunter Galt, Bill Cosby, Carl Rowan, Mother Hale, Reverend Leon Sullivan, and hundreds of others. So this treasure trove of practical inspiration will give you fresh encouragement every day of the year, and what it teaches will last you a lifetime. And if there's any power that can reverse the fortunes of race, it's character. Every thought which enters our mind, every word we utter, every deed we perform makes its impression on the innermost fiber of our being. So today we tighten some of those fibers. We clarify what one of those fibers is, and we build stronger and new fibers and connections between each other. So we're going to read this passage, read the quote, read the affirmation, give you our insights on it, see what you think, and then leave and go share this with the world. and give more time for contemplation. So thank y'all again for joining us. Mom, over to you.
Um, we're
Anything
good.
else before we
I'm good.
jump in?
Nope, I think I'm good. Trying to
Just
get
one of
that
my
last
coffee.
little sip.
Yeah, you already know.
Trying to sneak me. Trying to
Just a
sneak
little
me,
bit,
right?
just a little bit.
Now, I
All
can
right,
get
y'all. So
going,
today,
but we'll be here to 8 o'clock.
nah,
Okay,
no,
because I
no,
can
no.
get going if you want me to. Now I can let
Sunday
you drink that
morning.
whole cup of coffee.
I know, I know. Let me get you to drinking your water.
I'm gonna have
But
my second.
today, okay, good, good. Today, November 3rd, like I said just a second ago, our title is Think and Grow Rich. This is also the title of another book that Dennis Kimbro has that I alluded to just a minute ago, Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice. Think and Grow Rich. And our quote comes from Lee Dunham, the entrepreneur, who says, "We don't all think alike. In fact, many of us don't think. We don't all think alike. In fact, many of us don't think." A man bought a new gadget but couldn't figure out how to put it together, even after he read the instructions. Finally, he sought the help of a handyman who was working in his backyard. The old fellow picked up the parts, studied them, and then began assembling the project. In short order, he put it together. "That's amazing," exclaimed his neighbor. "And you did it without even looking at the instructions?" "Fact is," the old man, "I can't read. And when a man can't read, he's got to think. Thinking or creative imagination will solve all of your problems. How strong is your creative imagination? Can it be improved? Thinking creatively can be applied to anything from raising children to earning additional income. There's an eye opening fable that carries this point farther. A wealthy king had passed on, leaving all his possessions to his trusty servant, Omar, with the exception that each of his four sons should be allowed to pick one thing of value to have and hold forever. One son, the eldest, chose the royal palace, another, the crown jewels, another selected the king's land. As each son made his selection, it became evident that the remainder of the vast estate would go to their father's servant. They were such shallow thinkers, except for the youngest. Finally, the youngest and the last son stepped forward to make his choice. He said, "I choose to be served by Omar." Training the mind to become more creative can only be done through use. Be sure to use your creative imagination, the principal source of human improvement.
Hmm.
And that's the end of the passage. The affirmation that we have at the bottom of this passage says, "Today I will practice the art of using my creative imagination." Again, today I will practice the art of using my creative imagination. Now, over to you, Mom, as I sip my coffee.
Wow, wow. All right, y'all. So I like this one because it's about thoughts. It's about the way we think. And
Right.
what does the back of our book tell us? Is there's any power that can reverse the fortunes of race, it is character, writes Dennis Kimbro. Every thought which enters our mind, right? Every thought. And it goes on to talk about more, but it says makes his impression on the innermost fiber of our being. So, right, our
Mm,
thoughts determine and perhaps maybe even control what we see and how we see it. The images, imagination, the images we create in our minds, in our thoughts, right? And that we produce through them. Creative imagination is our ability to form mental images, concepts, and ideas that are unique and original, right? It is the source of our creativity, innovation, and imagination. Now, positive or negatively. right? Because I think we all have creative imagination. It's just like we talked about, it's not what you're carrying, it's how you're carrying it. It's not what you're thinking, it's how you are producing the thoughts. Are you learning to take them captive? Are you learning to take them captive, put them aside, those ones that don't create the imagination or the vision for your life? For your life. This passage made me think about a man that I know who's very, very intelligent, can build a house, right? Can build anything you want him to build, right? He's a construction worker. He does roofing and so much. Um, I probably shouldn't have said that much, but later in years, after knowing him, he said to me, I never learned to read. And I mean, and I was floored, not in a way where, what? I was just like, you are so smart. How you would never know that this person never learned to read, but he reads with with his mind, with his eyes, with his vision, with his creativity, right? And so, y'all, that's why when we say on this show, you tell me your story, or you tell me a sob story, you whine about your life and where you are, and in that you forget whose you are, and that you were created just as you were supposed to be created. And if you would get back and think and grow rich in that, think in that soil, grow rich in your soil, your thoughts is the soil that holds your seeds that you plant in them, right? But learn to be in the will of God. Be intentional about that, because that's the seed that you want to plant every day. That was one of my prayers this morning. God, I just want to be in your will for my life, whatever that looks like. Because there's no losing, you guys. Even when it looks like, it could be fourth quarter, you're down by 20, right? And don't you know, you could still win, right? You could still win, but you got to believe that. So it says we don't all think alike. In fact, many of us don't think. We do. I believe we do think, but maybe we don't think when it's not proper thinking. When you are not in control of your thoughts, you are not thinking. Your thoughts are thinking for you, right? So, what is it that you think about? What do you see? And if you want to know what that is, like a former day told to us, if you want to know what you're looking for, what you're thinking about, look at what you're receiving. It'll tell you where you are. It'll tell you about your soul, right? So it's about vision, you guys. It's about, again, taking those thoughts captive. I'm going to share something this morning. I'm going to turn it over to you, Brandon. Before I do that, creative, relating to or involving the imagination or original ideas, especially in the production of an artistic work, right? A person who is creative typically in a professional context. But this guy was able to visualize the pieces and look at them and vision. Like, you remember the day we had, Brandon, you have to help me with this one, about laying the bricks. One of the brick workers saw the building that was being laid rather than just, the bricks. He looked at the end result. So as he laid those bricks, he visioned what they were putting together. Can you have a vision of what God is doing through you, how he's putting your life together? Even sometimes when it feels like a brick or two, a whole side of the house is missing, right? But you can just kind of put a piece of plastic over them so that the wind doesn't come in, right? And the plastic is your faith, your hope, your belief in what God is doing. So in my reading this morning, it talks about putting God into your situations, your problems. And it said here, maybe we need to quit playing defense. Now, there's more before this. I'm not going to read all of that. Maybe we need to quit playing defense and start playing offense, right, in our lives. Maybe we need to quit letting our circumstances get between us and God and let God get between us and our circumstances. Maybe we need to stop talking to God about our problem and start talking to our problems about God. Y'all see the difference? You see the difference? Is your faith in the problem, the circumstances, or is your faith in God, right? Which will help you think and grow rich in self awareness, self love, self acknowledgement, self understanding. And then you will have the right soil, the right seed to water every day. So, Brandon, I think I'll stop there and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mom. I appreciate it. Give me a little chance to drink the rest of my coffee. It was good too. But thank you, thank you for those insights. The title, "Think and Grow Rich." This title grew on me, right? Because you know, you see, think and grow rich, and I think what it is and what it's saying is you have to think, and that's what makes you grow rich. So think critically, and then as a product of that, you will grow rich. And I don't think rich is particularly about finances, right? But it's about strategy. It's about moving, about maneuvering, excuse me, and taking what you have and doing the most with the cards that you were dealt, playing the best hand out of the cards that you've been dealt. So looking at this, man brought this new gadget and couldn't figure out how to put it together, even after he read the instructions. And then here comes along, you know, this handyman that's working in his backyard, and he says, "Hey, can you help me with this?" And the man looks at the parts and starts assembling it, and as a result, puts the whole thing together, puts the gadget together. The man is astounded, like, how did you do this? Without even reading the instructions. And the man says, I can't read. And when you can't read, you have to think, right? I heard about a story from my great grandfather who said that you have to master your mind in order to be a mastermind,
Mm.
right? Once you master your own mind and the processes and the the way in which you think, or work through, disseminate, or move through conflict or problems that you might have or that arise in your profession or that are just arise in your life. The way that you think about it, the way that you structure your problem solving skills will directly impact the results of your life daily. Daily. You ever meet some people and they're just, they always have a way out. They have a solution. They're solution based. They see a problem and the first thing they think of is, how do I solve it?
Mm.
Some people see the impossibilities and some people see that one possibility. Like there might be 999 ways that this idea will not work, but there's one way that it will, right? And so the people who can think critically won't see all the 999 because that's taking away their attention, but they'll
Mm.
see that one way that they can solve this issue and this problem. So instead of going through the why this won't work, which takes a whole lot of time, there's so many more possibilities of how it won't work, right? You say, well, this won't work because this, and that won't work because it's too tall, or it's too short, or it's too fat, and I don't have the right tools. But there's one way that it will work. I can't tell y'all how many times I have been out working on building a fence or doing some work like that, and I didn't have the tool that I needed, right? I didn't have the tool to get the post out of the ground, or may have left the bit that I need for the drill or something. But I have this motto in my head that if I'm supposed to do it, God will put something around me, something in my midst, something within my vision that's going to help me do what I need to do without me having to go all the way home or to the store in order to fix this. So I started looking around before I go back to the truck and start to leave and getting all my stuff. With all that time, I could have looked around and at least canvassed the area to see if there's something that I can use that can be a tool, right? So that to me, that's critical thinking, finding the one way that this can work. And once you do that, you end up saving time. I don't have to go back home or whatever. Now, truth be told, if I've done the right job of canvassing the area beforehand, you know, you probably have all your tools, but sometimes problems arise that you did not see. As mom said, sometimes life pops on you. Now, getting to this eye-opening fable here about the wealthy king that passed on, leaving all of his possessions to his trusty servant Omar. And with the one exception that he gives, that each of his four sons can pick one thing to keep and hold forever. And each, and it's just a quick review. The eldest son down to the next to youngest, all pick certain things like the royal palace or the crown jewels or the king's land. But the youngest son stepped forward to make his choice and said that I choose to be served by Omar. Now, why was this looked at as the best choice? Right? Because for some reason, his father, he knows and he sees that his father saw that all of his possessions were being given to this man. His father thought so highly of this man that he would give him all of the possessions. So what does that mean? That means that all of those possessions, right, added together are equal to or not equal or less than or equal to this man. And so in my head, I thought maybe Omar is the reason this king was so successful. Maybe this good advisor was more important to him than all of these possessions because he had mastered his mind. He was a servant, right? But what kind of service did he provide? I'm sure it wasn't just going to get, you know, some water or to fix food. But in order for you to give all of your possessions as a king, mind you, as a king, to who was your servant and not your own blood and sons, puts a special type of value on this man. And what I think is that it was a setup for who would take on the kingdom in a sense, right? Who would be the rightful heir? And he could have said, I give you the land, you this, you that. But his youngest son took what seemed to be his most prized, I won't call this man a possession, but his most prized um, position of his kingdom, which was this man, Omar. And who knows, Omar wasn't a king. Omar didn't seem to be of nobility, but for some reason he was given all of this responsibility and the possession of all of these things. So I think we should think about that. Why was Omar the biggest? Why was Omar given that amount of provision from this king? Because it says that it was a wealthy king, right? A wealthy king. But what made him wealthy? And what's the difference between being rich and being wealthy? I don't think the servant was a rich man, but he may have been wealthy in character, wealthy in mind, wealthy in heart, wealthy in his ability to critically think. So to me, the smartest among all of those was the youngest son who chose Omar. But mom, I'll turn that question to you. Why do you think he chose Omar as opposed to his sons to give all of his possessions to after his death? And why do you think the youngest chose Omar as opposed to, something else? And you're on mute, by the way.
I believe that Omar probably was a man of character. Was a servant of all times. I would guess. Like I would just say
Yeah.
character the most. I think that he probably was a stand up kind of guy, and that the younger son probably had a bit more interaction with
Mm,
Omar and his father, being the youngest, right?
true.
He may have had more contact with Omar and his father, and it could be that he was because of that. Um, he had maybe the same kind of character, right? Because it says the other ones, they were such shallow
Hmm.
thinkers. And it says a shallow thinker just looks at first order consequences. A deep thinker, which was likely what kind of thinker the youngest was, on the other hand, looks at the whole chain of effects, impacts, and outcomes. Shallow thinkers are incapable and sometimes too lazy to look at all sides of an issue or to explore the issues deeply before making judgment or decisions, right? So they
Right.
just, oh, I can get this, right? And
Right.
likely they don't get it until later, right?
Right.
And perhaps after my younger brother picked Omar, because that's everything else, right? That's more than just one thing. That's everything. That's like taking over, um in they're walking in their father's life in steps, right? So
Yeah.
we shallow thinkers. So yeah, I just believe that there was a Omar was not just a servant. Omar was family. Omar probably took care of him, of the man, of the father, probably better than the children did.
Yeah.
Right. And that happens, that happens a lot. Sometimes people leave and they leave the people that they're caretakers. I'm
Right.
familiar with the story in my hometown where uh, a classmate, the family, one of the families that she takes care of, they bought her a BMW truck. The family did for Christmas. A couple of Christmases ago, bought her a brand new truck
Wow.
for her. Why?
Just for all
Because
that she's done.
she takes good care.
Mm,
It's hard to find somebody that will take care of an elderly person like, and I would say like they would their mother, but I can't even say that, or father, because some people won't even take care of their mother and father. So I can't even say that. It is about character.
that's
It's
right.
about who you are, because you could be born of the same man and woman, the same house. We've had that story where the father was an alcoholic, right? Two brothers. They chose differently. Why? Because of the way they think and
Right.
process life. So you have to be intentional. You're gonna think regardless. You're gonna think and grow rich. And like Brandon said, it's not about money. But you're gonna think and grow or stay poor in a poor mindset,
Right.
right? Not about money. Not about money. Because some people have money and they're not rich.
And think about this too, Mom. Not to interrupt you, but all the other four brothers have things that either need to be protected or maintained. So once you get the palace, who's going to clean it? Who's going to keep it? You didn't get the other, I'm sure a palace is pretty big, you know. There's upkeep that has to happen on that. Crown jewels. You're just going to walk around with all those crown jewels. Who's going to protect it
Mm-hmm.
from theft? All that land, who's going to work the land? Who's going to protect the land? So there's a lot. Sometimes I remember the story of a wealthy group of people giving this is here in Memphis, giving a car to a woman that was on the bus stop. They got her a really nice car. You know the story, Mama?
I told you that story.
Right. I was about to say if you remember it. And
Yeah.
and correct me if I'm wrong, but she sold the car, y'all,
Yeah.
and was right back at the bus stop. And I guess they were upset with her, the wealthy group, the wealthy party, and said, "Well, why did you do this? Why did you sell this car? And you're sitting here on the bus again?" Because the maintenance for the car, the upkeep for the car, right, was more expensive to her than the bus, right? So it would be better for her to be able to sell the car, build her savings, especially as an elderly woman. You're trying to figure out how am I gonna maintain myself and care for myself as I get older, as I lose mobility, right? How can I age in place, as they call it? And she wasn't going to be able to keep up with the upkeep of the car. So a lot of times we can look at these nice shiny things, but they come with a certain responsibility. The nicest cars really make more on selling their parts. The Maseratis, the Mercedes, you make more on getting new parts for those. They make more on getting new parts for
Mhm.
those things than they
Mhm.
do on actually selling the car. Likewise, Apple, Android, these like AT&T, these companies and phone companies and or carrier services make more on insurance for the phones than they do on the actual phones because you're paying that every single month, right? So we have to think about the responsibilities. Whereas Omar is somebody who is the maintainer. He was the servant, right? So if you pick Omar and you have anything, uh, Omar can take care of that. And last thing, and I can surmise it all in a small sentence really quick. Smartphones make dumb people, right?
Mm.
Smartphones make dumb people. I remember when Google Maps came out and we could print how to get somewhere. And I mean, I had just turned 15, 16, y'all. And I would print, oh yeah, I'm going here. Okay. I don't have to ask. I remember, being a little fearful sometimes about not knowing my way around and would have to ask, how do I get there? Right. And then cell phones weren't the biggest thing then. So the communications were a little staunch in that time. But upon getting, oh, it was MapQuest, MapQuest. You could print out the MapQuest directions and take the papers with you. Right. And I learned more about how to get around. Years later, I come back to Memphis after college and we got maps and things like that now on our phone, right? Where you can just pull up directions on your phone. I got lost more with that darn thing. And then if I didn't have my phone or if my phone was low on battery and I had seemingly forgotten the way around that I knew,
Yeah.
you know? And what it was is over the course of the years and even now to this day, we're looking more at our phone to get around and the directions as it shows us and only looking up for reference. So we're looking as if the phone is the road and the actual road is the reference as opposed to the other way around. Whereas the
Mhm.
road is the road and the phone is the reference.
Right.
So what I'm saying is we become so dependent on these technologies. We become so dependent on the directions. We become so dependent, like the man in the story. We become so dependent on these external things to help us uh, solve our issues and problems to where we're not using our brain or practicing the muscle of our brain, the muscle in the act of critically thinking. So we
Mhm.
could look at all the parts and say, okay, well that's a circle hole and that's a circle plug, so that should go together. Or this is half of a circle and that's another half of a circle, so this must go together. But instead of doing that, we look at it like I don't have the directions anymore. I can't build this anymore. I am impotent. I am inept. I can't do anything right now. And that is a really pitiful way to be, especially as an African American, where we have already come through so much and had so little to where we became our ingenuity was maximized, and it had to be in order for us to survive. Right. That when I look over into Africa and I see little kids making TVs work without a plug-in. I mean, plugged a TV with a plug, or with a cord and a plug, and they make it work without the plug. Kids carrying around a TV plug just hanging. You know what I mean? Because they didn't have electricity, and he wanted to find a way to turn the TV on,
Yeah.
and he did. So ingenuity and genius come out of those tough stimuli, the tough stresses. But a life of ease and a life of leisure and a life of everything being handed to you or microwaved for you can easily start to deteriorate your critical thinking ability. So be careful with how much you depend and lean on things to help you. Know what is make sure that you're using it as a tool, right? And you are not depending on it, right? That depend that the you being a dependent of it should only go so far, right? Don't let it get to the extreme of it taking away your ability to critically think for yourself. Over to you, mom. You look you had something to
So,
you had
Brandon,
something to
I
say.
do. So, going back to the passage, it says, um, a wealthy king has passed on, leaving all the possessions to his trusty servant, Omar, with the exception that each of his four sons should be allowed to pick one thing of value to have and hold forever. One thing of value, right? And I'll go down a bit for the sake of time. Um, it became evident that the remainder of the vast estate would go to their father's servant, right?
Hmm.
Omar was the one thing of value because it says the vast estate. So the son who picked the palace, still, it really is Omar's because Omar owns the land that the estate sits on. Y'all follow me here? The vast estate. So the son like, I'm gonna pick who owns it all. Omar, and I get it all.
Ooh, something else just hit me, mom.
What it? Hit us with it.
Who else would know everything that was in possession of the king other than Omar?
Omar.
So you might have the palace, you might have the land, you might have the jewels, but that's not the entire kingdom,
But see, the
right?
first son, right, right, because the first
Right,
son picked the palace,
right. And the second one picked the jewels,
the
the crown
jewel,
jewels, and then the
right.
third one picked the land,
The
right?
third one picked the land.
Yeah.
Okay, so I missed one then. Um, where does it say? Okay, the king's land, selected the king's land, also remainder of the vast estate. Okay, so the land, so the vast estate means
There's more left, right?
more left, right?
So
So,
what I'm saying is
okay, so he
who's
probably
to
had more
know.
land than that, than there. He
Or what I'm
probably,
saying is like if you're the servant, right? Like say if I'm the
hmm
CEO of a business and you're my personal assistant, right?
hmm
Then you know the intricacies of everything I possess. The children and the sons may
okay,
not know everything or all the caveats or of what was actually owned. So those sons are just saying, oh, I can pick anything he had. They only know for what they saw,
the vast
right?
estate.
Whereas Omar, being the assistant, might say,
Oh,
okay, well, you get the land. Well, but did you know that he has a mountain over there? Did you know that there's a mine over there full of gold? Did you know that
wow, that's
the
even
fish that
deeper.
come down the river, or did you know that the grain that comes off of whatever, you know what I mean, or how much food we have in storage for the next year? All of those things still go to him. So the sum of what goes to Omar is still in most cases and more likely worth more than what the individual
What?
brothers took.
Got
See what
it.
I'm saying?
Got
So it's
it.
like when you think it's like I don't know if y'all know about this, but it's like when Michael Jackson was at odds with Sony and he ended up purchasing half of Sony's publishing. So every song that ever gets put out, Michael Jackson bought the half of the rights of the publishing to Sony, while in the same mist calling them devils,
Mhm.
saying they're just here to pirate these artists. He literally called what's his name, Tommy Mottola, called him a devil on stage. Michael Jackson, you look up the interview, called him a devil on stage and said that these people um, are are trying to steal from the artist and trying to cheat him. He said, he said they're pretty mad at me right now because I'm leaving them, meaning he got out of his own individual contract as an artist and bought half of their publishing. So now, not only, so when Michael Jackson puts out an album, which he was at the time, none of that money was going to Sony. And so they were pissed, but yet he still owns 50% of them now, right? So, and he said, I remember Michael Jackson just saying, they can be angry, but I just did good business, with that kind of, that little kind of, how Mike was. So
Business.
he's like, I was a good businessman. So he was critically thinking, he was playing three-dimensional chess while Sony was playing checkers trying to skip him, right? So not just any chess, but three-dimensional chess. So you got to think 2, 3 levels ahead, and again, and Mike was the youngest brother of the Jackson Fives, minus the one who came in at the end. But so there's a couple parallels there of him being smart, and the youngest ones are usually very creative. If you look at birth order, there's a science to birth order, and usually the youngest is the most creative out of those groups. If you go back through creative people, I saw something on the Diary of the CEO where this man had a group of creatives on his team, and he asked them all what was their birth order, and they all were the last born in their families, and that they were the most creative. Now, why is that? Because the firstborn takes up one uh, stereotype, might be the smart kid. The next one takes up the sports. The next one takes up the music or something like that. So the last child, or the businessman, the last child has to come up with this identity, but all these parking spaces are taken. He has to create his
Mhm.
own parking space. He has to look at a new way of doing things, and to be novel enough to the parents who have already raised multiple children, to be novel enough to gain the parents' affection, endearment, and attention, despite the numbingness of, or the dulling of, that first vigor of being a parent, of I got to do this with my kid. Now 4 kids in, he's gonna just do what you want,
Just do- okay,
just
yeah.
do what you want. So now
Be
that
more
kid has to
creative
be
in your life.
creative,
Live your life.
right?
Yeah.
That kid has to be, but that kid also has to be creative in order to get that affection, to confiscate the affection, um again, because the parents are off doing things and the kids are older, and they got this one younger child that has to do something novel and sweet and cute and creative in order to get that same type of attention. And that's just what the science
Yeah.
shows as far as
Yeah.
like birth ordering. Even though we might not say that, oh no, I love all my, and of course people do love all their kids the same, but your way of raising them,
Just
and
do.
the way that they see the world is different due to time and birth order. So it's just an interesting thing to look at. Why did they choose, or why did the youngest choose Omar, and be both critical and creative in the way that he thinks. So that's something that we can ponder as we go about the rest
Yeah.
of our Sunday.
Brandon, you made me think quite differently about this, and I'll be quick with it. With with seeing and learning, or remembering now that one of them did pick the land. Um, and now, and you spoke about maybe, well, surely Omar knows everything about their father, things that
Mm-hmm.
they don't know, and so they just picked off the surface of what they know and can see. I
Right.
wonder if anybody sat down with Omar and said, "Let me see.
What's inventory?
Yeah, what am I picking from?" They probably did not. They just picked from what they had already probably wanted. When my
Right.
dad dies, I want this house. So as soon as he died, I want the house. I want the land, right? But even with that, the the son who picked the land, now what will happen with the one who picked the palace? The palace is on the land, right? So still, I wonder if anybody, but Omar probably did not have to sit down. I'm sorry, the last son, the youngest son, perhaps did not have to sit down with Omar because he probably knew that there was a vast estate. There was so much more than what was to the eye that was left behind. So,
Mm.
y'all think and grow rich today. Where is just thinking, taking you?
Well, good, good. Well, thank y'all again for joining us today. We did take y'all all the way to 8 o'clock. We tried not to, but you know how it goes.
I didn't realize it was 8 o'clock.
It's getting there, about 5 minutes down.
Yeah.
But today on November 3rd, this fine Sunday, our title was Think and Grow Rich. And Lee Dunham, the entrepreneur, gave us our quote for the day, who said, "We don't all think alike. In fact, many of us don't think." There's something I was going to say about that too, but that's a whole nother story. And our affirmation today is, "I will practice the art of using my creative imagination." I will practice the art of using my creative imagination. So take that with you, share it with somebody, invite people to come to the show. Make sure that you like and subscribe the YouTube channel, right? A lot of us are watching on Facebook Live, but please take a quick second and go over on YouTube, like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications. So even if it is daylight savings time and you miss your clock, your phone, your computer, whatever you get notifications on will ding and let you know that, hey, in this season podcast is about to start. So thank y'all so much again.
Brandon, y'all, my sweet daughter-in-law is posting reels from these shows. Y'all listen, watch them, and share them. Miss Brenda, thank you. You shared a show the other day, so thank you. But you guys share the reels, share the shows, okay? Like Brandon said, we don't make a dime for this. We're 277 days in. We're spiritually fed from this, and we have a responsibility to share that plate. Not about us, because I'm going to do it if just one of you pop in, right? I'd rather have one person, right, come over that's going to eat the food. Take a plate home and eat the food. Because some of y'all will take a plate home and throw the food away when somebody else could have enjoyed it, right? Needed it, right? So share these reels, share these shows. Don't come here and walk away and forget where you came, what you ate, and what you must digest, right? And share. Your cup does not runneth over, and your saucer too, just for you. You are blessed to be a blessing. All right. So let's feed these ducks as we get on out of here. Brandon, did you have anything else? I'm sorry.
No, that's it. That's it. You know, I could go on for. I see so many different things in this, but you know, we should leave it for contemplation. So I'm gonna keep that to myself and contemplate for the rest of the day about it. I might call you though and be like, "Hey, Mom, did you catch this?"
All right.
All right, y'all. We love you.
Right. Love
See y'all tomorrow.